Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talks. Now, this is about Ireland, which if there were a top 10 of countries who have been locked down the longest with the most restrictions, well, number one, numero uno in that top 10 would be Ireland. Yes, Ireland have been in level 5 lockdown as far as I can see. It's been in lockdown for what, like 7 months solid? I could be wrong, it could be more. I believe there was a break at Christmas for them to visit people for a few days, but apart from that, I'm not sure when they weren't in lockdown. Now, before I get into this, I feel personally, if you're still looking at this from your specific country and your specific politicians, and you're saying, for instance, let's say in the UK, oh, let's get Boris out, he's messing up the country. Or you're saying Matt Hancock should resign, or we need to get the Tories out and get Labour in to sort this mess out. No, mate. No, you have not got a clue. It's not going to make any difference. You're barking up the wrong tree, a tree of distraction. You're just going to be replacing one clown for another clown who will just say the same thing. That's why when I'm talking about a different country, say Ireland, for instance, or Israel, or the Netherlands, or wherever, it's pretty much all the same. The governments are acting all the same, have the same mantra wherever you go. Yes, some will bring in policies at different times to others, but they are all trying to do the same thing. So it's good to be looking at other countries and see what they are doing and what's happening, as this is a global agenda. Make no mistake, we've all got a problem globally with this. And this brings me onto Ireland, where in the last couple of days, they have wheeled out the Taoiseach, sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly, and some science boffins to once again prime the public with what they are supposedly thinking of doing. That old chestnut, as we can see here. Dublin Live, Lockdown Ireland. Fears for Irish summer as restrictions could continue for months due to vaccine shortage. Now, the current lockdown is to be reviewed in Ireland on April the 5th, it says here. They are now talking about extending it for another 10 weeks. So what's that, to nearly July? So that's in an interview with Leo Varadkar. This is the guy, Leo Varadkar, this is the guy who openly said that there would be no travel at Christmas 2021 in Ireland, even if everyone got the jab. And that was a month ago. And this is the guy who openly said that they counted care home deaths as being positive for COVID, even when there was no positive test.
Countries count differently. One thing we always did in Ireland was to count cases in care homes from day one. Other countries didn't do that. We counted suspected cases even when there wasn't a laboratory test confirming that the patient had COVID. Other countries didn't do that. And we didn't discount people who had underlying conditions like other countries did. So if somebody had stage 4 cancer, was in a nursing home, and was suspected of having COVID but didn't test positive for it, we counted that.
Leo also has his own page up on the World Economic Forum website. Here we see a scientist rolled out to prime the public of Ireland with the same idea just yesterday. This is the Independent. Good summer on way if we can stick with restrictions for another 2 to 3 months. So again, they're telling you lockdown till July. And what are the reasons? Yeah, you've guessed it. Blame it on the variant. Like I've said before, the figures in Ireland out of all of the countries are... I mean, there's no relation to the strict lockdown that's been imposed on them. So if we look at these priming interviews, it's clear that they are planning to keep it going into the summer and probably beyond. And as all of these governments around the world seem to be going from the same blueprint, we can expect other governments to do the same thing. Maybe in Ireland, they are stretching out the lockdown the longest and they hope people, will go running for the jab when it's offered to them with the promise of freedom and a green passport, which is coming down the pipeline. Look, let's be fair here. People are being treated, trained like animals, locked up, caged. Their freedom's now becoming like a distant memory, and their independence dwindling away with time, as can be seen in my earlier video today about Asda putting hairdressers and nail salons in their supermarkets. People are being shut away and their businesses are closing. Their lives just put on hold indefinitely. And yeah, basically, you're now experiencing what it would be like to be trained like an animal, like a good little pet. If they do decide you can go out, you're going to get put on a leash. If you stray too far, they'll yank you back. While at the same time, they don't want you to spook you out too much because there are so many of us, So we have ministers like this one in Ireland, the Taoiseach, saying like he said yesterday, the same old crap, the same mantra you probably hear from the minister in your country and all the other robot presidents and prime ministers everywhere. They say, You've done such a great job. Don't spoil things now. Don't undo the great work we've done so far. We're nearly there. We can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but there's still work to do yet. Same old yada yada crap. How many times have we heard we're nearly there? Not yet, but please stay calm. Stay calm, little donkeys, and just focus on that lovely juicy carrot at the end of the stick, which continually I will keep dragging further and further away whenever you approach it. You're being trained like a load of donkeys, all in a huge field. But the ministers are being very careful not to spook you all out because, well, they don't want you all to bolt and break out of the field. Now here's an article about Ireland, the Liberal IE, where they did a freedom of information request, and it reveals they claimed data that claims Irish hospitals were well below average occupancy during last year. So go figure, I thought they were nearly overwhelmed, wasn't it? The mainstream media won't report it. If I talk about it too much, I've got the threat of censorship over my head, but you can see where it is if you want to check out that report. So like I was saying, very similar situations around the world. Now this time, next week, you have the worldwide Rally for Freedom,